two new teams should match up quite nicely.
Well, let's figure out how this one's going to go. We start the day off blue versus red. Xset, the squad that is looking to maintain this pattern of attacking consistency, and a Mirage squadron that is still looking for a win that isn't against a TSM team on Theme Park, because we've noticed that's a very glaring weakness, but Mirage appear to have even more of them considering they are still below TSM on the standings for right now. So gentlemen, initial thoughts about how this one should shake out.
I mean, I think the clear picture for Mirage so far this stage has been their struggles, right? Obviously, that was kind of confirmed yesterday when they lost against the Sonics. People were kind of wondering who might be the bottom team in the league. Right now, that very clearly appears to be Mirage. So despite the fact that these are both newer teams, Xset have just had so much more success, especially recently. They've been on a streak these last 3 Playdays. So I think it's going to be tough for MRG for sure to come back and take this W. But you never know, right? It's the NAL. We're going to a new map. It's a new Playday. So anything could happen.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Siege. And
it is Siege.
It's a BO1. Maybe all of a sudden Razer comes out and he's playing absolutely phenomenally. Marm and Spirits, they have a little bit of history. Marm has actually never lost to a team that Spirits has been on.
Okay.
So either that all gets changed today, or, you know, history repeats itself.
The thing I don't want from this is for Mirage, who we're going to focus on first, to just keep on relying on Razer on the attack to do something to propel them towards a win. He's still very highly rated from an attacking point of view in spite of that really hard loss yesterday, but it feels as though there are enough holes that you can punch into on this Mirage team to expose those weaknesses, ensure that you get some statistically easy victories, even though guys like Razer and Thomas feel like they're kind of at the top of their game. Everyone else maybe isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, Razer's really put this team on his back the last couple of Playdays. Even though Mirage came into this week in 9th place and now sit in 10th, Razer coming into this week was the 2nd best attacker behind Vertical. He had a 1.5 rating on attack and the same attacking KD, 23 and 12. As Vertical, one of the best players, if not the best players in North America right now. He has put up the stats, he has done so much for Mirage, but they failed to really do anything with it. In that one game where Mirage managed to beat out TSM, he was the only player above a 1.0 rating for Mirage, which just goes to show how much he was pulling for that squad. Yesterday, it didn't feel like he was really able to have that same impact. The drones weren't there to guide him. It didn't feel like he was able to get a lot of those opening engagements, and because of it, we saw them struggle quite heavily against the Sonics.
Yeah, and the way the Sonics were struggling was getting early round aggression, but guess who is very comfortable and confident in the early round? This entire squad of Xset.
Oh, yeah.
Every single one of these players, they thrive in that first minute. They thrive taking engagements, taking space, occupying that space on a defensive roam. That's where they're that's what this entire roster is built to do, and Mirage are really gonna struggle.
Yeah, it feels like Mirage, like moving to their defense as well, have been having a lot of problems with like actually getting aggressive and making some plays happen. Oftentimes it seems like as the cameraman goes for his fist bumps, as he always does with the Mirage crew before a game day.
All right, all right.
It feels like sometimes people aren't that willing to make plays go for flanks. If anybody does, it's usually the dancing man himself, Tommy, who wants to go for something, maybe get a little aggressive.
What do you think he's listening to on the speaker right now?
I don't even know,
What's it got pulled up, J. Cole?
I think some Lizzo perhaps, bumping it, getting ready.
Cool.
But whatever it takes to get him ready, I want to see him getting a little bit more active, because sometimes it feels like he is kind of left alone. Razer a little bit maybe too concentrated on the game to go for fist bumps or to acknowledge the cameraman. Listen, I want to see his team getting active.
You're going to finish that deathmatch, honestly, and I do feel like Razer, what you mentioned is actually pretty accurate. It feels like it's an Anthony MGS situation on Stage 2 Beast Coast from last year, where he was the best player in spite of playing support roles and was fragging and going crazy. And even though Razer is playing roam, he's playing, you know, primary entry in a lot of respects, it still feels like best player on a team that could be doing way more. So is he just trying to raise his stock going into next stage?
It's almost like he's playing like Razer from last season on Xset.
Crazy! Imagine what this guy could do if he had a team that was backing him a little bit more. Fist bump. Wait.
Oh no.
Marm, are you turning him down?
No, I think she got egoed again, which I am actually a fan of. Last time she got egoed, they beat TSM on Theme Park.
Okay.
She got her fist bump yesterday, and they got smoked.
We got to ask production if we can get like a lower third with the percentage going of like how many times Mirage fist bump and then what the win percentage is off of winning. Because I think every time she's done it, they've lost a game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the trend.
I think so.
I don't want to say that their chances came down to whether or not she literally gave a handshake to somebody, but that feels like they have a handshake with the devil, because right now they haven't been able to get anything under their belts aside from that TSM win earlier in the stage. We've understood what TSM's weaknesses are so far. Is there something here that Mirage can like really amplify? What's the one thing you'd love to see Mirage do better in this game?
I mean, again, it kind of comes back to being able to get a little more aggressive and then getting more players involved with some of these flanks, right? On their defenses, it does feel like sometimes they're kind of going at a setup, they're playing a position and they're falling off it. It's never really going for big aggressive swings. Sure, maybe you'll see Razer playing on the other side of the map, but he's not then, he's just falling back, right? He'll shoot a drone, he maybe even get a kill, but he falls back. He never then goes for a new swing and tries to make something happen.
Yeah, for me on their attacking side, they do have a lot of really passive players. Tommy, he's IGLing, he's focused on a lot of things. Benji Mula, you know, he's always been a little bit more of a passive entry as well as Melted and Marm. They aren't really your first in the building kind of people, which leaves it just up to Razer kind of barreling forward and there's the team trying to keep up. If kind of everybody gets on the same page and just, you know, it's Tommy screaming, everybody, let's go in, let's stay strong. That's how they're going to have to play this Xset team on their defensive setups.
I definitely think that a team like Mirage just might be the deer in the headlights because this Xset train is not slowing down anytime soon, given how they've played their last 3 matchups. Let's take a look at this Xset roster. So far, 3 wins in a row, and like we mentioned on the pre-show, the most wins that Xset as an organization have ever had in a single North American League stage. It was just 2. It was 1 standard win, 1 overtime win, now 3 regulation victories, 9 points on the board, currently sitting in 4th place. If you're Xset, you are probably ecstatic at this team's performance right now, but what are we looking at from a consistency point of view?
I mean, I think the consistency has been there recently. Obviously, they've won the last 3 maps in a row. I'm thinking if you're an Xset fan, you're hoping the losses this stage are just a week 1 getting used to a new roster situation, right? Because they are a new team, and going into week 1, they obviously didn't have the most amount of time ever to get ready and get practice. But it seems like with Spirits moving to an IGL, they've made those adaptations really, really quickly, and they really seem to be popping off now and having the games that they want to be having. You take a look at Kino and Yaga last week. They were almost back-to-back MVPs. Kino got it, Yaga very, very close. Coming into this week, Kino had a 2.69 rating and 100% cost in their last game. Yaga in his last game, 2.14, 100% cost. So very, very strong performances from these two in Playdays 3 and 4. That said, it is a team game, and they're really going to need to rely on some of these other players, some of the other Brazilians perhaps, Gomez and Diaz, and even Spirits coming into play.
Yeah, Spirits has had a couple of very good rounds. I like to make the joke of when he's on Finca, they have the Spirits go kill button, or just the Spirits win button overall that really facilitates all the aggressive playstyles for Xset. But when you think about how Xset's been playing as a team, they're peaking at the right time, and they're doing pretty well. Spirits, he actually gets a triple kill in this round overall.
I mean,
It's kind of going crazy, but then he also nades himself. So
The duality of Spirits, right?
It is.
He'll make these amazing entry plays, he'll have a fantastic game overall, and then sometimes he nades himself. And I think you can really speak to how important Spirits is for this Xset squad by looking even at their blunders, because that one round that Spirits naded himself was the only round that Xset lost on attack. So when those small, like, you know, things happen, right? When that's going down, sure, sometimes Xset might be struggling, but generally Spirits is on the ball. He's able to have such an impact for this squad, and you can see it in his stats as well. 7 and 9, 60 cost, maybe not the most egregious, like crazy stats that you've ever seen, but 5 opening engagements is a lot, and that really speaks to the role he plays for this squad. Rocking with the LMGs, pushing forward on Finca. He knows how to do it better than almost anyone else, and that's why he's leading Xset to such a high position on the leaderboard.
I mean, Spirits historically has never been a really good bank player in the first place, so having a performance like that where you're just below 50% on your KD is a nice stat to hold. But Xset and their attacks overall are the thing that we keep talking about, if only because they're still on what is essentially a streak. If they can only lose 1 attacking round over 3 games, that's notable. And there still could be a chance that if they were to go, you know, 6-0 on attack again, 6-1, 6-2, then we can still point to that as being an incredible success percentage when it comes to their attacks. And we're hoping that for their sake, it continues.
well, we also can't really talk about their defenses because they're winning games 7-1, 7-2. I don't want to break down one round.
You're not
during a match.
wrong.
It's just been constant attacks for them because, you know, they're starting on the attack. That's part of the ban philosophy that goes on for this team. You know, they like to ban first or they like to ban second. They like their side choice. They know what they're going for. And when they had set their game plan, they've looked incredibly good. They've looked incredibly strong.
Yeah, so I mean, this team, this is something actually I remember talking with Drew Spark about last year, excuse me, with the squad. Like sometimes they did just choose to ban, like maybe teams would always ban second or they'd ban first. They would always do like the opposite of what other teams would do, and that's because they really valued the starting side that they would go on. So it's not surprising with Drew still on the team, that philosophy is carried forward.
So what are we looking at maps-wise? Do we want to see Mirage try a map that they've already like selected here, or do Xset have something different up their sleeve? It feels like Bodega and his ban philosophy is pretty aggressive overall.
Yeah, he's been very aggressive. You know, we see Mirage have success on Theme Park. Guess where we're not going? Theme Park, not going there.
Fair
as well
enough.
as for Mirage, that's sort of an introspective band. They have not found success. They tried to play bank. They tried to get the ball rolling there. Could not get anything, as well as Xset has had some strength towards that. And now Border and Oregon going down. Xset, sure, that's where their only loss was against Oxygen, was on Oregon, but they still looked good against a top team.
Yeah, and as we continue to whittle down these maps, we'll see where we want to end up. One more to complete this first half of the band phase. It will be Clubhouse, leading us with Villa, Cafe, and Chalet. The next band's going to be Xset, and I have to imagine they go for the Chalet to take it out here. I'd say both Villa and Chalet perhaps. No, sorry, they go for the Cafe. Fair enough, I misspoke. The Chalet and the Villa, I think both leaning their way. For Mirage, they played Villa once so far this stage, lost it 7-2 just recently.
It was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yesterday against the Sonics. So they likely don't want to go there, but they also maybe don't want to go to Chalet because that's when we saw Xset 7 just dominate Parabellum on. They choose to ban the map their opponents are good at rather than the map that they are bad at. I think that speaks to their confidence on Villa. Maybe they're thinking yesterday was just a fluke against the Sonics. That gives me hope. Honestly, I'm glad they did this because that speaks to me that they really do feel that they are a decent team on this map and they could turn it around.
I mean, maybe a bit. I think the only question now is because Mirage had such a bad loss to a team that's at the very bottom of the scoreboard currently, the team that they are now tied with for who is the bottom team in the league. Is this just a case of lesser of two evils? Because Villa did not go well for them yesterday. You like Chalet, pretty obviously because of the way that Xset played it against a very good Chalet team in Parabellum. Your options are already super limited, so it feels like Xset, to me, kind of put them into a corner a little bit. Do we agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that this ban phase was done incredibly aggressively. They took out the new maps that were kind of an unknown quantity for the side of Mirage, and they started going straight for the kind of foundation. You put them to Chalet and Villa. Chalet, phenomenal map for Xset. Villa, not a great map for Mirage, especially when yesterday, you know, you're going to have your support staff on the side of Xset. They watched it. They definitely saw something in the Villa of Mirage that they could definitely exploit. It was the aggression that they struggled up against. And guess what Xset is? Aggressive.
They can be, yeah. And I do feel like as well, like Xset, they're a team that really don't like to play those new maps. They haven't played any of them so far throughout this stage. So like this shouldn't have been a huge surprise the way this map ban phase went for Mirage. So hopefully they've got a plan. Hopefully they are still confident on Villa and they can have a good game here.
All right, well, it's time for us to drop that part of the opinionated part of the desk and figure out what we're thinking opinions-wise for the entire finale of this bad boy. Stokes, Blue, you guys are on for the first game. I mentioned, or I heard Rosa talk about like the two of you as seeing like you couldn't star in a 50s buddy cop movie at some point down the road. What do you guys think of this first game?
Well, Stokes, I'll leave it to you first. Seems like we've got a pretty one-sided decision on this one, kind of already made, so I'll just let you lay it out for us.
Well, it kind of sounds like we're both going to have a pretty one-sided opinion then, my friend. And we got to rip the set over here on the desk, man. I'll just do it for John right now. Slap him up on the... whatever, the graphic. Yeah, it's Xset all the way. Mirage right now statistically the worst defensive team in the entire league, and Xset is, well, they're just dominant.
Yeah, and it's going to be the same for me. Even just down to basic things like the ability to find frags in those situations, Mirage is just not really there right now, and Xset has been on top of it to a huge degree. So I feel like that factor alone, on top of all the map factors that we've been talking about, is going to send this matchup over to Xset pretty handily.
I feel like in the past when we had this game, it felt like Xset, if we picked them over Mirage back in last year, we do it just because we wanted them to do something. We figured maybe there's a chance they can get it. The Mirage team back then wasn't really that impressive. Is there any real redeeming quality for Mirage in this game at all?
Looks at each other.
Razer can kill every once in a while on attack.
He gets stuff. He definitely does things, for sure. Honestly, my redeeming factor's got to be Marmalade. I think that she's a fantastic support player. I think that there is a lot of different ideas. Maybe a couple too many cooks in the kitchen for Mirage. They just need to get something figured out. Keep it simple, stupid, and, you know, move on. That's really what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, fair play. We'll have you save the rest of those points for when the cast itself actually goes on. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll come back to you in a second. Jesse.
Yeah.
My boy, what are we doing to beat the coin this week?
I think we got to go with our Christmas-colored casters, Jacob. I think that they were on the ball with everything that they said. I mean, right now, Exeter's on such a hot streak. Mirage, unfortunately, look like the weakest team in the league at the moment. Xset are the clear picks. I'm going to go for them and just pray that the coin maybe made a mistake.
There's not really a way that I can disagree with any of it, so throw me up there for Xset too. And we actually did a little bit of clarification on exactly what the coin is meant to do. Connor.
Yes, I am.
You are the coin's messenger boy.
I am the messenger. You know, Doa is not here, so they flew me out, and they're like, "Hey, guess what? You're just gonna be the coin if the coin could talk." And the coin, much to your dismay, is actually going with Xset, so you cannot beat it.
Much to my dismay. Oh
Yes.
yes, indeed, because to be fair,
You are indeed scared of an inanimate object.
at this point, yes. However, I am still above 50%, which means that's kind of most of what I care about, so.
You know, he's on the cast today. Stokes has been like the highest of the actual human beings on the predictions so far.
For the most part, yeah.
But he's dropped down. He was tied with the coin for first for so long, but now you have fallen. And yeah, it looks like he's not going to be able to come for the comeback this time. They've gone for the same pick.
Can we just cut to Sam with his face in his hands right now? I mean, he was for a second. It's not there anymore, but still.
I'm just not a happy man right now. And you know what it is? It was the Oxygen Space Station game yesterday that I didn't even get to watch. So, I'm excited to go back and see things. But, man, I got to figure out a way to beat this coin, guys. It's too dominant.
We need to find somewhere in Los Angeles that does smelting and just take that thing on an anvil, heat it up, and just destroy it.
When you were talking about throwing it into the volcano of Mordor yesterday, I was totally on board with you. If you need somebody for that journey, Jacob, I'll raise my hand first.
It sounds good. Can you be my Samwise and just carry me all the way there?
Hey, my name's already Sam, so we got this going on.
Gee, I wonder if that's why the reference works. Anyway, we'll hear from you guys in just a quick second. Anything else that we want to mention about this game before we get underway?
I think it's almost do or die for Mirage. If they don't manage to win this game, their fate for the major, I know it's not probably on their mind, but it will be out of their hands at that point, whether they are able to qualify or not. So definitely some stakes on the line there.
Yeah, I think this is actually an insanely important game for Xset that I don't necessarily want to gloss over because the last side of their season is really, really rough. They started with a tough schedule. Now they had their kind of ease down in the middle, and this is the finish of that. And we've said that they're getting a lot of momentum. They're looking a lot better as a team. They need this momentum to go on that back half of the game, of the entire season. So this game, very, very important. I think they will walk away with it. I think they'll close out business and look good while doing it.
All right, well, can Xset keep this 3-game win streak going, or does Mirage still have the upset factor from their only win on the season and double what their current win count is? We'll find out after a very quick break. It'll be Blue and Stokes when we come back.
Xset absolutely destroy the Sonics with a 7-0 victory.
The dub felt amazing. People believe I should have stayed on pair, but I proved them wrong.
You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop.
My expectations for the season were honestly just to come in and play hard. I didn't really put a goal on this season. I just wanted to come out here with my guys and just play hard and get after it, and that's what we're doing right now.
Our situation right now isn't looking the best. We're still kind of working things out. You come out of the gate swinging, but you don't really end up swinging so well.
I mean, obviously when you're losing the way we are, where the games aren't even close, there's more than one issue. Honestly, it's hard to pinpoint what the issue is. I think, after Invite, we took a little bit bit of time, came back, tried to scrim all the new maps, so then I think we stopped scrimming the old maps. On top of that, we're just making like a lot of mistakes and uncharacteristic plays that I think we hadn't been making over the past year or so.
Well, the first 2 games we realized, as like from the foundation up, like we thought we had a good understanding of like how we moved as a team, but like when we went back, watched the VODs, like, okay, this is not what you're supposed to do, this is what you're supposed to do type thing. And then we went back, you know, went through it. A lot of it just clicked. Like our attacks were so clean. Our defenses were so sloppy, but our attacks were just really, really clean because we all understood like what responsibilities we had.
The talent on this team is undeniable. I think they can, shoot with anybody in the league, and I think we've shown that these past 2 games. So the biggest thing that, I want to try to influence was like, loosening up the game style and focus more on the micro instead of the macro strategy and kind of give these guys more room to, just play the game.
I mean, we know our worth. We know like what we're capable of, and we know like we can win and be like a top tier team. But as of right now, we're just improving every day. I think like by the end of the stage, we can be, or next stage, we can be like in the top 4.
I guess overall as a team, I think just some minor cohesion issues, like little small talk, because that's just how you really win rounds and ultimately win games. It's just this back and forth chatter, and so we're having a little bit of issue with that.
Honestly, dying early, it made it easier because I could see like everyone was doing and like calling for everyone. I knew everything they were gonna do because they didn't change anything, and most of the strats that they were running is strats that I made back then on PB.
I call the opening, so I feel like me being, unleashed sort of like gives me a lot more freedom to like flex the different operators, create those openings for the team, so we win rounds.
When we beat the Sonics, it just felt like another game, to be honest with you. Just a win's a win, because every day is business. It's not personal. It's just another game.
This is the first time this team has ever had a losing record. You kind of have to learn how to lose again. We can lose, that's okay, but we're getting like blasted. I think we've won 4 or 5 rounds in 3 games. That's just embarrassing. We know how good we are. It's not like the Monstars come and stole all of our talent. It's just a matter of playing how we should and not playing maybe what some of our haters would like us to play like.
I just want to thank the haters that doesn't believe in us, and of course I love the fans. We are here to prove people wrong, and we are here to win everything.
I can only control the now, winning it all. That's my ultimate goal.
I'm the kingpin. I'm the kingpin.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get ready for our first matchup of the day. And we've got a good one in front of you as well here. We're going to be seeing our friends on Xset go up against the Mirage camp. Now, of course, Mirage has been struggling quite a bit over these past few weeks, and inside of their first few Playdays, going to be looking for a rebound today, but that's going to be tough for quite a few reasons. One being what we mentioned during our prediction segment, if you caught that earlier, in Mirage, failing to find frag capability in so many departments right now, just looking across their entire roster.
Yeah, absolutely the case, my friend. Mirage kind of on the struggle bus when it comes to the frag department right now, especially on the defensive side. You and I were doing some heavy digging to see exactly what we would expect from both of these teams, especially with how dynamic Xset has been on the offense. And what we found was not exactly good. The highest survival percentage, just to throw one out there for you guys, is 14% on the defensive end for Mirage. And 2 of the players have that. The rest of them are below 10% on their defensive side. So they are just getting steamrolled when it comes to their defensive setups. And up against a team like Xset, who are astronomically amazing when it comes to their offensive side. I really don't know what they're going to do up against them, but we have Villa to find it out, and past that, we have Xset starting on defense this time around.
Yep, it's going to be interesting to see how well Xset's able to stretch their fragging prowess out here, considering how strong it's been in the previous matches and just how strong the statistics look overall inside of the stage so far in direct comparison to Mirage. But as we focus a little bit more on the bans here, no surprises to start us out, as Thatcher will be the first one to be knocked out, following with the trends we've been having for pretty much quite a few years now.
Yeah, ever since bans came in, Thatcher's been one of the mainstays for offensive bans. We'll see if it's going to follow suit into the second one. Are we going to stay routine? For the most part.
Like in the middle, though.
Yeah, exactly. About, that 25-50% ban rate range. So Floros will be removed. No Rotero drones for this. And Xset more than likely going to be pretty happy about that, as a lot of their defensive utility will more than likely stay up for an elongated period of time due to that ban. Mira's also going to be removed. That one making so much sense. We saw quite a bit of use from her yesterday. not even on Villa, but still has a lot of traction when it comes to this map.
Yeah, the floor has been more than anything, I think, hopefully making things a bit easier for the players over on Mirage, just not having to watch all their doors and potential access points here for those Rotera to come in and take out hard points in their utility, such as like the top main stairs deployable shield or something else similar to that on another site on the map. We'll potentially get that top stairs set up, though, as we're going to be heading to that very site to start out here for Xset, and we'll see what type of lineup they'll bring to the table alongside what Mirage will at least initially show us here before they, keep in mind, folks, could potentially repick inside of the drone phase here, as we do have our attacker repick now enabled as of stage 1.
Okay, well, looking over Mirage's offensive side, Razer has been so very dominant when it comes to the offense for this team. Currently plus 11 at the moment, plus 3 on entry, but he has a 1.21 KPR with a 1.5 rating on this side, so it's a massive momentum shift from the offensive side to the defensive side, not only for him, but for this whole team. The rest of the team, though, for Mirage, you really can't say the same when it comes to their offense. The second highest rated player happens to be Tommy at a 0.98.
Definitely still pretty palatable rating for him to try and deploy towards here, so we'll have to see if he can keep up that strength along with the rest of the team. But as you guys can probably tell now, there's going to be quite a bit in terms of disruption, especially inside of the map room here that Xset's currently setting up, with DS putting down all 3 of the Goyo canisters here to block off, well, any one of the 3 major points that they would try to work their way in from, whether it's going to be the study door, of course, death door on the other side, and then if they try to swing around into the inside of the gun vault there, they'll have another canister to block off that access point. And then, of course, on the other side of the site, you still got Kino ready to hold down the line, too.
Yes, indeed. And with those elongated burns as well, it's going to take so long to clear these out if it's properly used by Xset. We'll see what Mirage can possibly muster in order to get past that. Still have some frag grenades to be able to use here. Have the stuns as well along for the ride for Mirage. So, well, thanks, Kino. We'll be playing around main stairs here. Be holding on to this position here for some time. Doesn't have the deployable shield inside of the space. He's just getting droned out at the current moment. Doesn't have to use too many smokes early, but it's better to burn them instead of keeping them in your pocket for a potential death that could possibly come.
Kino going to be continuing to hold this angle as the time continues to trickle down as well, and the rest of Xset mainly just holding those staircases with shotguns in check. So we'll continue to wait that out as our time continues to roll down. And for the rest of Mirage here, not a whole lot of action going in. Except for that, we'll see Spirits take a piece of damage or 2, but it'll be returned. However, Benji is the one that's actually able to strike with it. And Thomas also knocking out Yaga here. Things continuing to look good for Mirage as they pick up those opening 2 kills. They've lost a lot of health on both Thomas and Benji, though. So things are not secured just yet. It does look like they're going to be able to get Benji back up. Now they'll have to move forward from here.
Well, they have main stairs control, be able to get rid of all the utility pieces around this space, although they're not very important at the current moment. Razer's been discovered by the Banshee, but he's still going to be able to at least down Kino. This is going to make things quite difficult for Xset. Gomez now on very, very low HP, and Spirits will actually get taken out by Razer. This offense coming together for Mirage in the current moment. Gomez with a huge double kill, though. The M590 able to secure Razer, and now an opportunity for them to try and win this.
So that's going to potentially allow for Xset to come back into it, but now with the kill on to Gomez here, things are looking a little bit bleaker as Diaz is left alone inside of a 1v3. Plant now going down in the site as well. Nitro, though, attempted to deny it. Not going to work, though. Gets shot out well before the explosion button is pressed. Plant now down on the ground, and time is now ticking finally against Diaz's favor. And positionally, he'll finally run out of space to play this as well. Mirage succeed in their opening round here and pick up that first point.
Yeah, very, very well done. Cool, calm, and collected. Although things were definitely going awry when it came to Gomez's play through the single panel there. But past that, Mirage, very bang-up job on the offense so far. And Xset do not want to go back to AVG. They're going to respect the aggressiveness of Mirage early on here, and they're going to shift over to Trophy and Statuary.
Certainly a promising start for Mirage. Time to see how they can chain it together on this attacking side as well, where we oftentimes see our teams trending towards a bit more of a difficult point, but not necessarily going to be the case here as Mirage get themselves off to a good footing. And now we have to wait and see what the follow-up is going to be from them. Is Xset going to keep a pretty similar lineup of operators here, especially when it comes to their delay tactics? The Goyo Volcan canisters are going to stay in play on Yaga. And then, of course, we will see Kino continue to stick on the smokes, that they have that ability to block things out from both sides. Unfortunately, didn't really have the player count to properly do that as it came down to the end of it there. so was not able to properly utilize, especially those Goyo canisters. But maybe once again with a little bit more passive style play, we could potentially see Xset keep those players alive until much later in the round and properly use that utility to delay out the time here.
We're gonna have some switches here for Mirage. Benji will grab the sledge, Ace will come in for Marm, and Razer, well, Razer's going to the Nook. So we'll see if he can potentially sneak into the basement here. Xset have extended themselves down towards tarps, end up reinforcing the panels here, and also there's some destruction up top for, I'm assuming the Goyo gas canister is sitting upstairs through that verticality here for benches. So we'll see if they want to try and hold on to this for an elongated period of time, but it's hard to say at the current moment. It really just depends on what Mirage are going to do in these opening minutes.
Yeah, Mirage once again taking their time with that opening minute or two as well. I believe we were talking about it with some of our other casters about how Mirage kind of just sit around here for the first minute sometimes and try to come up with a good game plan before they take any action. That's actually pretty normal. But once again, going to see them falling into that pretty handily here once again. Our second round is they try to take control for themselves and only just now inching their way into the building as they start to take some semblance of control, mainly downstairs here. You can see that first Vulcan canister getting blown up as well, more than likely by the members of Mirage, but Xset is going to delay out the next 20 seconds or so and prevent any swing around towards Astro.
Well, Benji's at least grabbed dining control. Still have Spirits and most of the Xset members inside of sight. Gomez will currently be at the top of red, and I know that we have Nook sneaking around here somewhere. I believe Razer's all the way across the map. Currently, he's actually downstairs in red hall. No damage back and forth on either of these teams just yet. Mirage starting to dwindle on their drone economy, but not too damning just yet. About halfway through here, and they've lost just about half of their drones. So for Razer now, he's been able to clear things through this side of the building. He's made it to the bottom of red, but what happens from this moment? Are Xset going to overcompensate and rotate into his angle, or potentially Mirage going to waste too much time trying to make this go off?
As we continue to broil down the timer here, Thomas nading out, going to be trying to take out some utility from above, and we'll knock out the camera in the process, but just a little over a minute left. Mirage are going to have to try and speed this up as that time continues down, and unfortunately, without making that ascent fully upstairs just yet, this is going to be a little rough, but this nade could potentially prime for some good damage. It goes forward, does knock out half the HP from Spirits as well, so some good results coming from that. But now, where is the push? When are they going to finally move in for the execute here? Haven't found that strength just yet, but they'll need to do so soon as Marm now tries to line up, tries to see if there's going to be a harsh cutoff against someone on Xset on the inside of Astro, but will not be able to find it. This time now gets even lower, and the members of Xset just continue to sit back and wait, but Spirits misses an opportunity to kill Marm as she sneaks through into the site with just a sliver HP. Is going to try to get this plant down on the ground. Kills are going all over the place, but mainly in the favor of Xset. I say that, but Benji's just re-equalized it and melted, pushes it one step further. The members of Xset are holding on here. Kino sprays out and takes down Melted, maybe restoring some of this faith, and Kino, along with Diaz, are going to shut it down for Xset as they exchange out this round and put us in a 1-1 scoreline.
So very well done from Xset there. Just rest on the site setup and force Mirage into their execute, able to trade things out and make it a very difficult situation for Mirage to possibly try and get through. Just didn't have the cutoffs, especially for Astro, as Xset's able to work split and just work their way back into statuary. Very well done from them, but now they're going to continue on this site triangle. They don't want to go back to AVG. They're headed towards kitchen and dining to see if they can possibly defend this successfully. No pulse along for the ride here. That's something that we're used to seeing routinely on this setup, but quite a few traps when it comes down to it, plus Diaz as well with the Electro Claws, more than likely to lock up the single panel that he's doing right now by, well, shoving that inside of the little wardrobe.
See what exactly Diaz is able to work with that, and Kino will set up a little pocket corner for himself behind the chassis to play into also, but we'll see that all come to bear until much later in this round, of course. We'll see if there's going to be any major changes on Mirage's attacking side with repicks, but it's not looking like it at this point. They seem pretty satisfied with what they have, and that tends to be a pretty good lineup, so I would generally agree. But we are going to see one small change-up in Benji switching over from the Zofia, and now bringing a Jackal instead for a little bit stronger anti-roam presence to maybe catch some of these more sneaky maneuvers from the Xset side.
I think it's something they could have even utilized inside of the last round to try and discover some people and assist them in that execute. Just knowing where a couple of defensive members could be the make or break inside of a round. So here now for round 3, Mirage are out and about, and as we were just talking about, Jackal here with Benji, he's going to be starting things off on the west side of the building, trying out the south side here, and has the potential to bump into Spirits on main stairs.
Benji just taking out the camera real quick as he inserts himself towards the inside, and for Spirits and Yaga, they'll be very, very keen on waiting to potentially catch that player if Mirage try to execute forward. Xset keeping a decent spread of players elsewhere also, mainly with this one more extended player upstairs. Gomez is going to play into this position here behind the triple wall and continue to wait this out, as also will do a little bit of reconstruction for himself in the process too. Rest of Mirage going to slowly start poking and prodding over here towards Laundry, as that's what they will ultimately want to control, it looks like, for their execute point, but going to take some more time to do that, as they will need to clear out this position from Gomez before they can fully lock in on that.
Yeah, very, very important here for Mirage, as that's the entirety of Razer's game plan for Sledge. You need to get that verticality and begin sledging up that floor, and it makes a lot of these spots that Xset want to hold on to extremely difficult to play. Even the deployable shield setup that they have behind Tetris is possibly susceptible to vertical play. So now for Xset, they'll move back into China and be holding on to this for some time. DS with a beautiful shot as Tommy overextends himself. Diaz and the rest of Xset is going to simply hang out. Not really much to do right now. Mirage haven't made too much headway on the top area just yet. They're smashing up the master floor, but that's just about it. They're not able to actually get into statuary or anything of the sort just yet. And Razer, he holds onto the grenade too long and he downs himself. Very unfortunate now for Mirage. This is looking like the round has simply slipped through their grasp.
Yeah, Razer trying to go for pretty much an all-in play with that nade chuck, and it doesn't work out. Gomez now strikes for a second personal kill on the round, with Benji getting knocked down. Still seeing members of Mirage trying to make this transition. Finally, Melted will lead into a good setup, but the problem is Spirits has also re-rotated back over here towards the statuary side of the map. One more exchange will be found by Marm, but Marm's now got to worry about the re-descent from that player upstairs, as well as everyone still in the site, of course. It's certainly winnable for Marm, don't get me wrong, but oh no, wait, a Nitro Cell apparently got that kill there. Didn't look like that from my screen, but all right.
On the wall.
Oh, it was preset on the wall. Looked like for sure the skeleton key maybe finished things off, but not going, or rather the M590 finished things off, but not going to be the case, apparently.
Not. And, I mean, well, we're actually going to have a tack timeout by Xset, which is the team that's currently in the lead. This is not something that we're exactly used to seeing, so it looks like they want to have a quick discussion about what's something that they could potentially use inside of the game. It seems that Kino and Bodega are really getting into this conversation right now. Bodega with a lot to say.
Yeah,
so,
Bodega definitely noticed something.
Yeah, there's definitely something that's exploitable that he's seen. And honestly, it's got to be the slow play from Mirage here. And not only that, but their commitment to trying to clear the full map. Their overall game plan was very spread and sporadic. I mean, you have that player all the way down trying to deal with Spirits on the main stairs position. Then you have everybody else trying to deal with Master, but you don't have the counter angle set up for Astronomy. There's nobody really dealing with the back end that could potentially sneak in, like top red or bench or, you know, Boar or any of those other spots that really you have to worry about when you're playing that top floor. It's just a very one-dimensional offense that Mirage are currently playing with, and it leads down to what exactly we saw. Xset are able to exploit that. They're all coming in from one side of the map. They know what's going on, and it's a very simplistic breakdown past that moment.
It's a very proactive pause overall coming in from Xset there. They basically do it for this rerun on AVG that's coming up right here, as far as I can tell. This is the only round they didn't win on the first run of 3 sites, so it's possible Bodega realized what the potential issues were, came back in, maybe had some clarification on the other 2 sites too, but just do it at the halfway point, because now he can get in what he has to say about the first run of sites just before they redo it.
I believe it's the DS onto Valkyrie switch up here. I think that's what it is. Just having some extra cams to actually be able to know where Razer's coming from. Because if you remember the last round on this, that's when Razer snuck in bust door and was actually able to take out one of the players. I think it was Gomez sitting in behind the game's bar. So just made things super difficult for him past that point, even though Gomez still got 2 kills.
All right, well, let's see how the pause and the potential change-up in strategy is going to work for Xset. We can immediately see a lot more presence over here towards the master side of the map, too, with Gomez and Spirits maintaining those positions, catching on to how Mirage tried to execute on the previous round. And so far, they've got the good read on that, as we can see 3, if not 4 members of the Mirage roster going to start to work into that department of the map and try to clear it out. So Gomez and Spirits will certainly have the fight that they wanted by going to this position at the beginning of the round.
Yes, indeed. And not only that, but they're going to stave off Mirage's offense for quite some time. This is going to be a huge time sink for them, especially if they don't actually try and take this fight. If they sit here and try and see if Xset are just going to peek into something, this is going to be a huge, huge time waste. So we'll have to see what Mirage can potentially do here. But this is on to Razer. You guys heard him in the video earlier. It's something that they need to try and get better at. Try and get in and get aggressive early, but they're just giving over the frags, John. This round is basically already done.
not looking good, unfortunately, here for the members of Mirage as things continue to get worse and worse for them with only 2 players standing alive here. Razer with a good cutoff at least. Oh, and it's so unfortunate. He's not even able to get the full down there. Gomez only going into a down state. Oh, Spirits as well, baiting his dead teammate to get the trade. I'm down with it in this situation. It works out perfectly fine. And Melted now alone here in what is virtually a 1v5. Okay, never mind. I'll shut up. A 1v4 as he takes down Spirits, gets revenge for his more recently fallen teammate. But the big problem is, where does he go from here?
This is a perfect timeout moment for Mirage. I believe Melt is going to sit around here and hold angles, but that also gives us some time to discuss why that shouldn't necessarily be happening. For instance, Mirage, I mean, it's the beginning of the round. You have all of your drones. The fact that you don't know that these angles exist, and not only that, but you're also getting taken out by Spirits on practically the same angle, those are things that should not be happening. We have Mirage just sprinting in through Master like they own the place and that Xset aren't playing defense. It's just very poorly executed from them, and honestly, I expect better calls from Razer.
Well, we're going to have to see if they can potentially change things up, as clearly the adjustments from Xset and their pause are working very, very well in this situation, so they will be able to bring it back under their control and now really take control of this lead as well at a 3-1 scoreline currently with Xset in front of things. Looking to make it 4 in a moment as they now go back to the sites that they've already controlled earlier in this half, and ideally where they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable. That has to be shaking the boots of Mirage just a little bit too, as they know that they're going to have to improve on their own regard. Hopefully they use the pause just as much as Xset did to try and recenter themselves and make some better attempts here as they're about to re-attempt the attack on the upstairs hold.
Okay, so Arm back onto the ace here. No other change-up for Mirage, but definitely had a lot to think about when it came to that last round. Hopefully not broken. It's all about bending. Do not break. We'll have to see what can possibly happen for them this time around. Are Xset going to be nearly as aggressive to these initial peaks? I would assume not, just given the site, but I mean, it is Xset. They could just be like, all right, well, these gunfights have been somewhat simplistic. Let's just take it to Mirage and end this round in quick fashion.
So let's see if that'll be the case. We do get a few more repicks. Mainly Osa coming in there for Razer would be the biggest change-up we saw. Other than that, it's just a few stylistic changes. Marge going to a different hard breacher, and Benji over to, of course, the sledge, because why not bring a sledge in this day and age, in this meta, more than anything?
Great gun, dude. The L85 has always been a fantastic weapon in Siege. It's always been like right in the middle of the pack of the ARs. It's just a very, very consistent weapon. So always nice to have, and obviously having somebody that is a soft destructor like Sledge is always fantastic, especially with, you know, the ability to bring like Castle on the defense or something like that. Just having him there with the frag grenades and everything is always a great choice.
The Osar could potentially help with this first minute or two as well, giving Razer or another member of the Mirage team a better capability to try and aggress, and more importantly, stop these own aggressive positions that Xset had been deploying towards. I think we saw at least an attempt at one of those windows to maybe go, or one of those shields, excuse me, to go down on the window, but didn't happen. Instead, we saw this Goyo can get blown up as they were stacked by the drone hole, and it actually did a really good amount of damage to Marm. So good thinking there from Xset, being creative with the way that the flames oftentimes bleed out and nearly knocking out a player through it.
Yeah, unfortunate for Marm is she'll be quite low on HP at the current moment in comparison to the rest of her teammates, and they're also bleeding out their drones as well at the current moment. Trying to get some extra info to see how they can possibly progress. Air job's out for Melted as Razer will apply an Osa shield into Master Closet. More than likely will apply the other one around the area in Master as well. Some more angles open up, but he's actually just going to reposition the shield that he already has. Then she has some frag grenades down low. That was utilized to clear up the triple wall here so that Marmalade can actually apply her Selma charges, and those will begin breaking up the wall for Split here so that they can hold their cross. You can see Xset are pushed all the way back towards bench. Spirits here as well in tandem with Gomez. Yaga down low to make sure that nobody can come up red stairs. And Kino, well, he's playing around Astronomy. They have all of the other facets of this site locked down. Mirage are only allowed to take Master.
Some of you guys may have noticed Diaz here trying to deny this wall with the claws, but both of them getting knocked out pretty much immediately after they were thrown on the wall, so just no luck there. Mirage have no problem getting that triple open for themselves.
Practically like impossible timing when it comes to a Selma charge versus an Electro Claw as well.
So Spirit's going to try to get a bit more aggressive here to make up for the breaches that have been opened. He thinks better about it, though, after some consideration backing away from it. Time is now starting to get a little bit dangerously low here for Mirage, but the good news is they seem to be well aware of that, and we can see them now moving towards their execute Marm. If the pillars on this map were positioned a different way, that probably would have been a kill, but not under these circumstances. Marm will have to force the issue once again, though. It'll be a little dangerous. You can see that top-down angle being opened up. It's going to be Spirits just dashing in with a double for himself, and of course, Diaz will have no problem hopping up from the other side. He takes out a third. Yogg downstairs manages the late rotate coming in from Tomas, and that just leaves Melted alone, and not for very long either. Spirits gets a third and final kill, and it's Xset domination yet again on this defensive half.
I'm just mad. I'm just gonna say I'm not happy with how this offense is going at all. Not only was that unbelievably stagnant, but you took all of that time to then not clear out any of the utility and then have Marm just run in and die. That's the worst thing when it comes to being a planner for a team, is when things like that happen. Marm makes the play, she rushes all the way through, she gets to the plant spot, she's setting it up, and then no one's watching the cross because we didn't clear the Goyo canister on concrete that we had 2 minutes to clear. Oh, that's how that broke down. And by the way, we did have frag grenades, so it's just that's not the way that round should go in the slightest, especially when Xset gave them so much room.
Mirage continuing to struggle on their attacking rounds, and Xset continuing to thrive on the other side of it here. We're going to be going into their final round of the half now. And we'll see actually a pretty creative lineup of operators here. Mozzie's going to show up for a little bit as we'll see Yaga deploy towards that. Spirits as well will bring the Legion of all operators. Not one we tend to see super often, but from time to time it does peek its way in, especially when teams are feeling confident. It can be a comfort pick depending on the player here. The traps will certainly be useful though, especially in the hallway and some of the more sneakier avenues that Mirage may try and use to get access. Xset won't necessarily be able to keep watch on all of them, especially at the beginning of this round, because they'll be split up so heavily between the top floor and the horizontal extension into living room. So those traps will potentially help out to make up for the gaps in intel that would otherwise not be there.
Well, I'd say so far so good for Xset's defensive set. I mean, as the analyst desk was talking about, we haven't got to see too much from their defensive end, and it's looking very clean, extremely coordinated, especially like what we were talking with the last round, kind of the pseudo setup that they had going around, red stairs in the kind of the mid round. That's the kind of things you're looking for a solid team. So very well done from them to be all on the same page. We'll see if it turns over into our last round here, a potential 5-1 lead for Xset waiting in the wings. Gomez and Spirits currently up towards main stairs and already trying to take it to Mirage.
Spirits really trying to directly challenge from the bottom of main stairs, and he won't be alone in doing so either. Yaga sits just inside of library, so a very dangerous cross deployed against Tomas, Melted, or anyone else that tries to move into this front lobby area to challenge it. And Diaz somehow picking up a double kill as it looks like Xset trying to brute force it to the inside of Bicycle here and lose it to a huge degree. Benji, Marm down and the case dropped as well. Tomas might be able to hop in and get it back, but even that's going to be a risk at this point.
This goes back to what we were talking about last round. They're just not working together. We have two people hop inside Bike. The rest of the team isn't even around the space to actually help them. So why are you hopping in Bike? It's pointless. You're just going to die to the person in sight. So now the case is down inside of Bike. Tommy has to try and fight anybody in sight or take control of sight to get the case back because of the terrible positioning. And now Spirits has a new angle, and he's got another kill. So this is how it's going to go, John. This is our life now.
So Xset continue to shut down these rounds as Mirage, well, they had a promising start literally on round number 1. They've seemingly flatlined since then, and Xset has run a gauntlet themselves, which is Melted and Razer remaining inside of this current situation. Virtually zero map control to play off of this as well. Not to mention, of course, the case still sitting on the ground inside of Bicycle. So Gomez is more than likely going to lock that down for this entire round. And yeah, there we go. Diaz with his third and final kill, and it's very much a flawless round from Xset.
That look from Yogg, that was exactly my feeling of that round. It's like, oh, guys, come on. Like, come on.
You guys okay over there?
Oh, yeah. But luckily enough for Mirage, they don't have to worry about their offenses anymore. We're now on to defense, but we still have to worry about those.
And you can only lose 2 rounds.
Yeah, in a team that their highest survival rating on the defensive end is 14%. So things are not looking too hot.
Gotta bump that up a little bit.
I'm trying, man. I mean, they need to be trying. I need some positive Mirage stonks. That's what I need. But I'm not getting them, man.
So they need to not lose 2, which means the survivability rating would need to go up to like 66%. So what's that? Like 52% improvement, I think, if I did the math right.
Yeah, basically. And just for
over a single game.
Just for sake of conversation, you got 2 14% survival ratings from Marm and Melted. Razer has a 10%, and Benji and Thomas both have 5%. Yes. The highest rating out of all of them on defense is Razer with a .74.
Well, yeah, those stats pretty much speak for themselves.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to elaborate more on that.
Would you like to talk about that?
Let's talk about this round so it can maybe sound like we're not being so
salvage. We are now salvaging Mirage here, folks. We're going to hope and pray. Everyone just raise your arms up and send your energy to Las Vegas at this current moment. We are trying to spirit bomb Xset with Mirage's help.
We're going to be seeing a pretty standard defensive comp come out here. No huge surprises for the Mirage side of things as well. Marm just going over to the Cade, which lines pretty well. It's generally what we see her trend towards on maps where Cade is needed. So she'll be blocking off access to the walls. And then aside from that, it's your usual assortment of defensive operators that we see commonly picked here. Melusi to slow things down on the site assault. Benji to eat up the nades. Thomas to play for intel. And Melted for the true bit of delay here with those Toxic Babes.
I'm a little worried about the setup for Mirage right now, mostly because it's just extended towards the master area, and if Xset are quick enough, this could be pretty damning. But fortunately enough, Tommy especially has already rotated back towards site, as they're very aware that there's no one over inside of the master area. But Gomez could also sneak in the back here as well, a very similar play to what we saw from Razer inside of the first round.
Nearly a minute gone from it here, and Xset taking it nice and slow. Mirage also still with a pretty hefty amount of downstairs presence here between Thomas and Razer, both trying to maintain that front control for themselves. Spirits, oh, they do have hot drones going here too. Not hot pings just yet. You can see that sitting over top of one of the members of Mirage here. Thomas still able to contest against this, though, despite that fact. Kino actually taking quite a bit of heat from it, but Yaga strikes true with the first kill, despite Kino being brought low here. Razer now going to have to contend against this pressure. He seems ready for it, though, nearly downing a second player, but the angle just a little bit too much in Xset's favor. Kino barely sneaks out the shot onto Razer and takes him down instead.
So very well done from Kino to support his teammate like that. Just hold the pixel. You'll never know when that player could possibly step up, and you got a free kill, just like Yaga downstairs. Xset so dynamic in their play right now. Marm getting active, but it's not enough up against Spirits. Gomez will wrap it up with a bow, and Xset are one round away from a 7-1 victory.
Yeah, I mean, Xset are just finding these picks left and right as well. I know we're judging it pretty heavily after only one round, but we may realistically not really get more to judge it off of. Mirage falling.
There we go.
Okay. Mirage, unfortunately.
Poor Razer.
Mirage really just falling to pieces inside of that last 30 seconds or so. We could even see it just with the last two players dying. You still had one player extended all the way up towards the top main stairs. The other one, your smoke, still on the site, but somehow they die within just a few seconds of each other, just to give you an idea of how sporadically placed that defense was in the final seconds and how much progress Xset had already made with just those kills in their pocket.
Also, while we are on this tactical timeout, I'd actually like to bring up Xset's tactical timeout from the earlier rounds. Because if you remember, right after the tac timeout for Xset, that's when they had that crazy triple kill over inside of Master with a very aggressive peaks.
Yeah, like I said, it seemed like Xset really had a nice proactive timeout there to like where Bodega or someone else noticed something after the first play of AVG, and they just came in and immediately course corrected it. And it worked pretty much brilliantly because they won out the next 3 rounds from that point forward.
Yeah, I mean, definitely identified something there, and it was the fact of Mirage's inability to clear out positions like that that they were able to abuse. And honestly, shout out to Bodega for that. I mean, that's not something that we regularly see where the team's ahead, it's attack timeout. Usually when things are going well, Siege coaches tend to just let it go, let it ride out. They don't want to talk about things. But Bodega being very proactive in his timeout usage, I honestly really, really like it.
Very, very cool, and we'll have to keep close eyes on Xset to see if they pull off moves like that in the future, especially when we get closer to international land territory in just a few months' time. But for now, Xset are dominating here on the NA circuit, looking to rocket their rating. Currently in 4th, as you can see at the top center of your screen, looking to push it even further into the top 3. They are in position right now to potentially push themselves towards the major, but will, of course, need to maintain that throughout these last few play days. But I have pretty good hopes that they'll be able to pull that off if their performance stays consistent. Let's see, though, if they can stay consistent in this game, as they still need that one more round to shut it down, and they're going to actually head downstairs instead of going for the second floor hold upstairs.
Even though it practically looks like one, but most of these setups for Kitchen do. You really, really want to hold on to that top floor and try and prevent as much verticality as possible. So for Xset, it'll all be about trying to get into that top floor if they can get Diaz up there, or possibly not. We could see them just attempt to go direct here. They do have Yogg with some form of execute utility as well as clear, just depending on how they want to try and utilize the phone calls, but we'll have to see. Some drones already clearing out the basement space with Spirits here, already trying to make sure that he can capitalize on any info that Kino possibly finds.
Pretty quiet round so far, but that aligns pretty well with what we saw on the first of this half also. Xset continuing to take their time using their drone presence here. Only 2 have been knocked out so far, but they've got quite a few active on the field at this point. looking to try and gather as much intel as possible about what Mirage may be looking to pull themselves in terms of any more aggressive extensions or tricky strategies before Xset tries to take the risk of clearing it themselves. They won't, of course, find anything defending the inside of Library, so they'll move in to clear that out. And they're also going to quickly throw a Selma down to prevent the cutoff from the Astro Stairs from being too successful.
Yeah, that is a huge, huge big brain setup here from Xset. They are going to get Yaga over inside of Library. He's probably going to stay here the whole time. They can just ask for his utility whenever they need to. And now whenever they apply the push to Mirage's top setup and they come back down Astro, that cutoff's already sitting there. And fighting up against the MK14 is not something that you want to do. 2 bullets and you basically die. It's just not a fun situation. So now for Mirage, although it might be unbeknownst to them, they are in hot water. You know, tucked inside of Laundry for the time being, frag out to clear out some of this utility. He's actually getting pushed here. Marmalade doing a lot of damage. Smoke out. Can he get the damage done to Kino? He's already slipped through the cracks, though. Not enough done, although she was so very close.
Marm continuing to wait out this opportunity, though, since they have the utility to do so. But Spirits once again striking true for the Xset roster. He picks up the opening kill. They're looking for the exchange on a Marm, but instead it's been Melted and Marm to pick up the exchanges themselves with Kino and Yogg going down. This might finally be some good stuff coming in from Mirage, and it continues to look that way as Razer finds the next pick. Spirits along with Diaz, the only 2 left. Diaz seemed to have a player locked down, but no, can't finish him off. It's Tomas instead to get it done on top of Marm, finding one more. That's a solid defense being put up by Mirage. Now they just need to keep it consistent.
Very well done from them. Great identification of what was going on around the mid-floor as well. Yaga ended up losing that gunfight. I don't necessarily know if it came from the Astro stairwell, but either way, they were able to get rid of that anchor position as well as take out quite a few Xset members that were trying to just waltz into the site. I mean, they were pretty aggressive in the way that they were posturing themselves, especially around the laundry space. Really loved how Marmalade especially abused that. Dealt so much damage to Kino. Spirit's taking a lot of heat in his initial gunfight as well, although he won it. But past that, I mean, the adrenal surges, especially when he only has 2, not only are they going to be on cooldown in between, but you're still not going to be able to get yourself back to full health. So it just put Xset in a pretty bad situation, and Mirage were able to capitalize on that for really the first time. It's one of the most successful defensive rounds that I've watched from them.
The good news for the Xset fans at home is that they've got 4 more opportunities to make up for that loss and still close this game down in regulation with the full points that would come with it. So Mirage still, you guys may have even noticed it too when you went to their cameras. Like they're not really gonna breathe a huge sigh of relief after that one. I even saw Razer's like, all right, focusing right back up. We got to dive right back into this next round here, and indeed they do. They're gonna bring a very similar lineup to the table. Razer will keep his own comfort pick there of going over and bringing an MX Storm into play for him. Aside from that, things remain pretty much the same for what we had been seeing at the beginning of the half as well, mainly which is the Valkyrie changing things up there for Tomas as he brings that in instead for the extra intel here, since there once again is going to be a pretty extended game to play into here, even though we changed to a different site. Xset wants to prioritize the usual entry points as they, of course, are now spawned out and have begun their clear. They'll be taking control of Kitchen to access that from down below and then work it from there, as they'll also more than likely look for master control after the fact. Kino is going to support from the other side too, mainly just droning right now. I may try to go in and clear out areas like the living room if it should be a necessity for this team. Razer actually sitting in a pretty aggressive position here too. Wants to deny this, and his opponent takes the challenge. Spirits seem ready for the fight, but Razer wins it anyway as Mirage strike true yet again here, and they're going to pick up the first kill of this round.
Very well done for Mirage. Xset, actually one of the only 2 teams in the entirety of the NAL currently that have a positive entry rating. It's them and SSG, but Mirage, they're starting to cut into that stat line and try and pull it away from them, all while simultaneously boosting their defensive stats. So a big pickup here from Razer. And not only that, but he's also taking down Spirits, one of the main keys to this puzzle for Xset.
Another minute gone here, and Xset seems to have been stunted after losing that initial pick. Spirits going down. The rest of the team doesn't want to take too many risks themselves, and Tomas also still going to potentially have a wrench to throw in the spanner works here as he sits downstairs in the basement, trying to rotate himself back up into a power position here where he could cut off the rest of this execute if Xset are not going to have the positioning or player count at this point, considering it's 4v5, to properly watch out for that. Razer has also fallen back from his more aggressive position. That makes perfect sense considering the circumstances, so he'll be hiding out behind the triple wall as Xset is unfortunately no much closer after another minute has transpired from getting themselves into the site, only using this second minute of the round to really gather intel, maybe get Gomez or another player into a better position.
Yeah, it seemed like they really want to try and slow things down and see if possibly Mirage would give them a pick just like that. Tommy steps up and he is gunned down by Gomez, and all of a sudden we have a ball game on our hands, boys and girls. 50 seconds remain here for for Xset to try and secure things. Frag out to see if anybody's playing the verticality, but now a smoke comes down onto Gomez. He's grabbed Astro Stairs control, but obviously they'll be aware of this. Benji with some beautiful shots onto Yaga. He'll take him out inside of the master closet. And now Xset, they're back into a very similar circumstance. They have to try and fight from a downward position as Benji and the rest of Mirage, they are looking to bite back here. See if they can possibly take it to Xset. Kino with an initial kill, though. He'll tie things up, and this round is starting to look dire. Either way you slide it. Hey, it's going to be close for Razer, but he's not going to be able to win it out. Kino with a triple now. He's taking it to Mirage. It's all up to Marm, but she's already have a gunfight, and it's going to be up against Kino. He's found her in the back of Trophy, and they found the round to find success on Villa.
Kino saves the day in the final round of play, and Xset once again dominate, only allowing 1 round per half to go off for Mirage there as they falter 2-7 here today versus Xset. And Xset continues their domination in the NAL, a safe top 4 position, looking to excel it even further than that, with another win being put on the counter for them today here versus Mirage.
Very uncoordinated Mirage today. Not
mainly
too
on the
much,
attack.
Yeah, mainly on the attack. The defenses were pretty okay, I would say.
But you didn't really get to see enough of it.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing there. I would say that their defense was definitely better than what we had seen in recent history. But as you said, it's very difficult to say when we're only able to see like 2 rounds. So either way, though, for Xset, a hell of a game, proving time and time again that this is not a team that you can take lightly.
I would almost say on that last round, like Mirage's confidence kind of got the best in there. We saw a couple of peaks that went maybe just a little bit too far out that gave Xset dual opportunities, mainly Kino there at the end, to potentially swing that round back. Because otherwise, Mirage once more was on track to have solid control there and pick up a pretty simplistic second round for themselves, but I think just maybe pushed the envelope a little bit too much there and gave the opportunity back to Xset when they obviously took that.
Yeah, Razer lost an insanely important gunfight up against Kino there. When he was kind of snuck in next to the reinforcement and they both swung each other, if he wins that, then they more than likely win the round. But past that, Kino, he's just too damaging, especially with that AK-12 in his hand. I mean, it's going to be super, super hard fought either way. So for Xset, a heck of a game once again, as they'll take it here on Villa.
And once again, Xset continuing to kind of prove everyone wrong. This is a team to be feared, and this is a team as well to potentially watch out. So ladies and gentlemen, things continue to look great for Xset. Things continue to look, unfortunately, not that great for Mirage. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board once again as well and look into how exactly they're going to potentially improve things for themselves.
Yeah, well, ladies and gents, that's going to do it for John and I for the initial part of the day. We're going to be back after a quick commercial break.
I'm doing what I can to fuel the flame like a fireplace, to make a bunch of money, buy my mama a fireplace. We make incredible songs to celebrate and get mad lit. Once upon a time in Hollywood, I'm like Brad Pitt. My homies say I live a life, yeah, just a tad bit. Learning how to move in this rap shit. I told them that the bar raising, we keep moving it up. And no surprises here, they knew it was us. Apologies if I was doing too much, but I always came through in the clutch. An off game don't mean I'm losing my touch. And no excuses, I ain't using a crutch. Apologies if I was doing too much, but I always came through in the clutch.
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get it, no call it quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move.
look at Xset go, man. Look at Xset go. Not only did the entire desk plus the coin pick them for this game, they picked up the win in spite of everyone still having their support and their backing. And we've got Gomez live from Las Vegas to talk us through how this one went down. Brother, congratulations on the victory. Walk me through this. You are now 18 of 20 attacks straight through the last 4 games. What do you think is the key to the success that you guys have been having on the offensive side of the ball?
Just the work that we've been putting in. I think like the first 2 weeks, like we were kind of rough in attack, but then we just figured it all out.
Yeah, Gomez, I'm sure you're aware that Mirage, they played back-to-back Villa this week. They played it yesterday and now just played it against you guys. How much VOD review and work went into that last night, whether it was from your team or from your coaches, kind of dissecting what they were doing yesterday? And how much of that did you try to bring into your gameplay today?
We didn't really get the VODs until like 20 minutes before our game, so we just went in like thinking about ourselves and wanted to play our game, and yeah, that was it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and then so what you were saying more so with that, you're focusing on yourselves. Naturally, you're going to have some adjustments mid-game, especially on your defensive side. With Mirage's executes being so sporadic and weird, what were those comms like? How was that sort of adjustments on your part?
I think like by the 3rd round, I think maybe we called a timeout, and he just realized that like we were winning every gunfight, so we just kept the aggression throughout the entire game, and yeah, it was quite easy.
We haven't been able to talk to you quite so yet on the desk, you and DS obviously being able to play with that aerial Arise as that duo for quite a long time in the CL scene. But talk to me now about the differences between what you were able to do in Tier 2, in Challenger League up to now. Like, you're obviously playing in a LAN environment, you see your teammates every day. Has that really, you think, helped kind of the cohesion in this team come together?
Yeah, for sure. The vibes on stage are just unreal. Like, everything just goes like perfectly, and yeah.
Shortest interview we've ever had in a long time. Good stuff, Gomez. Congratulations again on the win for that game. The interview went about as fast as the overall game did, so we'll see you hopefully next week with another dub under their belt. We'll see you in a bit.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so now we were curious about whether they'd be able to keep this kind of momentum going into the major, and for the love of God, it doesn't seem like what? I think the most rounds they lost in the past 4 games was what, 3?
Yep. Yeah, they lost 3 rounds to to Beast Coast yesterday?
Yeah. That was it.
Come on.
Every other one, 7-1, 7-2, everything else. They are trying to set land speed records for how fast they can clear through this part of the NAL. No one has been having a faster stage than these guys had, and it's against a myriad of opponents. It's not just that they're playing bottom tier teams the whole time. They're blitzing through everybody.
Yeah, it's been a very dominant performance, and I think their schedule will get tougher those last couple of play days. I think their last game is Oxygen, so it'll be tough to be able to keep the momentum, but in this game, they still managed to pull home the dub, and pretty easily as well. Might have lost the first round, but it was almost clear sailing after that one. Spirit's the top fragger of your game, 11-6, nearly a 2.0 overall KD, 3-1 entry stat as well. That's what we highlighted about him before this game started, was how many of those stats or opening engagements Spirits was getting into, and that was huge coming in from Spirits.
Yeah, and for the side of Mirage, a lot of their attacks did look potentially a little bit better, but the execute timing was really, really sort of weak and whack for me. There were too many times that Marmalade really got sold. She got absolutely sold by her team. She was trying to plan, and there was no coverage. I don't know if it was a miscommunication through the team. Maybe Tommy's saying, hey, go plant, or maybe it's her own idea to go into the bomb site and try to get that case down.
Right.
But the coverage wasn't there, and it completely demolished any attacking success that they found.
Yeah, especially those statuary attacks were like really one-dimensional. Was not finding a lot of success with those. I think that's where a lot of those planting problems were coming through. In general, it just seems like the offensive side for Mirage has been a real struggle for their squad. I'm hoping they can figure some of this stuff out because the drones don't seem to be there. The coordination isn't really going forward. It seems like there's not enough initiation being taken to get some of those opening engagements and make space on that map before you go for the push. So it's been a real struggle for sure.
If this is more of a long-term plan for Mirage, let's just assume that it is. I wonder if you can hear the screaming of the ghost in the background, because I can hear it in my ear. But if we talk about Mirage and hoping that this is something that can persist after just this stage, right? Let's say they knew that this was going to be a struggle in stage 1. As a hypothetical, we don't know obviously if this is the plan. But in stage 2, they come into that stage knowing we're not a good bank team, we're not a good Villa team, we're just kind of ironing the kinks out or like answering these questions early. Do you figure that now, because they've played Villa twice and lost it twice, that they're not going to go to it again, and in the future they can figure out what they're actually good at?
I mean, it seems like that's the progression of them. You know, take 2 banks in a row against SSG and DZ, no success. All of a sudden, guess what? They're banning bank, and now we're going to see Villa back-to-back, Sonics, and Xset, same results. And trying to feel yourself out and sort of depends on what you're defining your goals as for a roster. Are you going to be built for stage 3, you know, going towards SI, not really caring about the majors, or if you're kind of just trying to survive in the NAL ecosystem, you know, avoid relegation, that's when you're kind of building for the future and trying to grow. We don't know if roster changes are on the horizon for this roster or if they're going to try to stay as a 5 together. That's another thing that's up in the air.
Listen, I know Mirage have played Villa twice and they lost it both times, but if TSM are allowed to play the same map 3 times in a row and lose it, I think Mirage should be allowed to.
I don't even know if they're allowed to do it or if they're just doing it themselves.
If they go a fourth time, I don't know what I'm going to do.
We'll get to that when we get to the TSM game, obviously, but we do have a couple replays we want to run through first, starting with round number 4. We're looking at a lot of droning and we're looking at mistakes that Mirage made compared to the things that Xset were able to capitalize on very well, and this is a pretty key example of that exact thing.
Yeah, the big thing I want to highlight here is over the roam near where Spirits and Gomez are at. Take a look at the drone count going down slowly for Mirage. 5 out on the field and then 4 in their pockets currently. They want to clear Gomez and Spirits out of that trophy statuary side. They're currently moving their players that direction, and they're going to start getting on these drones. And the thing that we're seeing constantly over and over again from Mirage is that they're using these drones and they're really bleeding them out early. We haven't seen them yet, but there's Tommy's getting through bathroom, Razer's drones coming in through the master side, and it's good to drone these players out, but you're seeing them getting shot very, very quickly, right? Whether they're getting off of those for a moment or whether Spirits and Yaga and Yaga are going to be able to find some of these picks and take down those drones before people get spotted. There we're down to 8 drones, 1 just got shot now, and the information is like okay. They probably have, I think at this point they have an idea that there's somebody over there, but already Spirits is jumping in getting a kill. They're at 5 drones right when Spirits goes for that frag, then Yaga is able to jump in for another one as well. Spirits is getting all those kills, and just like that, they're down by 3 players. And if they had had a little bit stronger droning, if they had kind of used those drones to figure out those positions and then immediately followed them up, that would have made such a huge difference in that off-game roam clear.
Yeah, for that, it felt like a series of kind of singular players going into gunfights as opposed to a team. It was like getting slapped as opposed to being punched. And it was just really rough for everything to go through on the side of Mirage because you drone out somebody, you know where they are. That's a very default extension. Everybody and their mother knows what a trophy side extension for an AVG defense is. You know, you just play certain positions, you have some walls open, you can challenge the windows. That's exactly what happened. It wasn't like it was a crazy defense. It wasn't some new version of the SSG roam designed to kind of stop intel, but it just happened anyways.
Second thing we want to look at is 2 rounds actually back-to-back, comparing the entries for specifically Xset and then Mirage after. So the first one we're taking a look at is round 5. That's going to cut right into round 9. And the thing we're meant to highlight is the difference between the way that Kino entries and the way that Marmalade was entering?
Yeah, so take a look at this. This is going to be Marm first, and it's a 5v5. Nobody's dead yet. 39 seconds of the clock, so they do have some time to take some ground, but instead, Marm sees a player, goes for a shot. They decide just to rush on in, planting just between the statue and the bomb chassis, but Spirits goes on in. They hadn't gotten any frags, but Marm's first instinct is to go and make the play happen. Then we switch it around, and we see now a round where it's going to be Kino getting in, and watch how he does this differently.
Yeah, he's going to be gun up pretty much the entire time, and he's never going to try to really go for the plant because as we heard with Gomez talking about their philosophy on this game, they knew they were winning every gunfight, so why put your gun down to plant when you can just do wonders like that?
It's really the better strategy, be able to keep your gun up. Make sure you have that space before you go for that kit down. Unfortunately, Marm just didn't have anybody covering her in that situation, so you need to go for those frags by yourself, and Kino clearly doing that better today.
Well, 4 games now for Xset on their win streak, showing very clearly that if you were to ever underestimate Xset again, you're probably going to be on the end of one of the fastest games in the North American League. We're going to have to figure out like a percentage. I think right now, we don't have the actual standings graphic to pull up, but I wonder if they have the least amount of rounds lost so far, or if they're in contention for that because of how quick these games have been. Gentlemen, final thoughts before we cut away.
Xset, who's doubting them now? They look so good at the moment. Their streak is just getting better and better, and I can't wait to see how they do the next couple of games.
Yeah, for Xset, they are the real deal. I think that they're going to come in for the last half of this season and do pretty well. And for Mirage, I think it's back to the drawing board on a lot of things.
For sure.
Well, only 1 game down, 4 more to go for Playday number 6. When we come back, it'll be Parabellum against OXG. We'll see you in a sec.